back to the Neil Haley Show's Dr. Christopher Hall Show, and I'm excited to welcome to the program Dr. Christopher Hall. Dr. Hall, how are you? Thank you for your service, and I cannot believe the guests we have today. We really got to break the ice off the air, and it's another amazing guest we have, don't we, Dr. Hall?
Well, definitely, and this is incredible, and especially this is really what the nation needs during this time, a very inspiring guest. So I'm very excited about our guest today.
Awesome. So introduce him, please.
Well, no problem. We know it's my honor and great pleasure to introduce an actor of film, television, an author, has been a star in The Wood, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, I've been on The Practice, American. I'm so excited to welcome to the show, Mr. Taye Diggs. Welcome to the show, Taye.
Hey, y'all, what's happening? Thank you for having me, and thank you for such a wonderful introduction.
Absolutely. And
Yes,
Taye,
sir.
we were talking about off air how you're surviving the pandemic. Tell us about that. Yeah.
I'm doing okay. You know, I have to say, if I'm being honest, sometimes I'll feel a little bit guilty because my life didn't really change that much. All American was on hiatus, so I didn't have to worry about that. I got to spend more time with my son and kind of focus on some other projects that I want to get made. So I'm all right. I'm all right.
We
How
always
about you
have
guys?
hey, well, Dr. Hall's out there on the front lines, which we have
Frontlining.
and that's amazing. We need somebody like that, and then that's why we got to talk about how important it's social distance, wear masks, right, Dr. Hall? Because I mean, it's we don't want to put you in danger forever for just this virus. We want to figure out a way that you have less and less people come in, especially this is going to be a tough time, isn't it, Dr. Hall?
You know, it is, particularly with the flu and coming on, and we already have the coronavirus. And really, regardless of the medications, the most effective prevention is wearing masks, and that's how we're going to, by social distancing, wearing masks, how we'll be able to get back to normal. So,
All right. So let's go to our first question for Taye.
Okay.
Well, no problem. We know, Taye, it's great to have you on the show. And I know you grew up there in Rochester, New York. And just tell us a little bit about, you know, how you grew up and the environment that you grew up in.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Rochester, New York. Like you just said, it was upstate, really, really cold. We had beautiful falls. Humble beginnings. My mother and father were very musical. So they were always either playing the piano or having some kind of music playing in the home. So we were raised, me and my four brothers and sisters, with a sense of art. Then my mother decided she wanted to go back to school. So my father stayed at home, homeschooled us, when my mother went back to college and studied dance and theater. So when she was doing that, you know, she would bring us to rehearsals at times, and we'd see her in all her shows. And that's when I caught the bug of being a performer, watching her kind of transform from mommy to whoever she was on stage. That really tripped me out. And to know that she did it, let me know that I was able to do it too. So she enrolled me, my mom enrolled me in a performing arts high school, and then I was off to the races. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it.
So when you think about performing, you know, being enrolled in the performing arts kind of school, were you hesitant at all, or this is exactly what you wanted to do?
See, this is where my mother knew me so well. I didn't want to go at first because I just registered into this really cool regular high school, and I was very athletic, so I was excited to play soccer and tennis and just be a regular kid. But my mother, she recognized the school, and she knew that I had it in me kind of dormant. So at first I was upset that I had to leave all of my friends at the private school, at the public school. But then as soon as I started, you know, getting my footing at the performing arts high school, it literally changed my life. At the public school, I was always trying to be in the I could never be in the cool crowd. You know, I never started because I was never big enough, you know, a big enough athlete to start on those teams. So I was kind of nerdy. So I enjoyed school, but I never really fit in. But once I joined School of the Arts, it was like, it was like I had found my home, a new family, and a new kind of direction in life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Hall, next question.
Wow, it's incredible. You know, Tay's all around athletics and he's performing arts school, and I know education is very important to him. And I know you went to school there in Syracuse. Tell us a little bit about that, Tay.
Syracuse was it was a welcomed kind of continuance of what I was doing at School of the Arts. I felt very, very prepared because most of the stuff that we were, I majored in music theater. So once I started classes there, a lot of the stuff that we were starting out, I had already done in high school. So so that was cool. And then it was just wonderful experiencing the arts and, you know, meeting other people that have, you know, very similar interests and, you know, kind of comparing, contrasting, but at the same time, engaging in a full-on proper, you know, university life, because Syracuse was a big school. So we had the football games, we had basketball games, crazy cake parties, but then really, really good theater and improv classes, and it was awesome. It was awesome. High school and college, you know, were really, really, really wonderful times in my life, because it really, some people that go to school for one thing and then 10 years later there's something completely different. But my high school and college, they truly just set up my life in a wonderful way, and I wouldn't do anything differently.
So you're a Syracuse Orangemen fan for sure then, right?
For sure.
See, I'm a Pitt fan, so that's why I'm bringing up our big rivalries back in the Big East tournament. So I don't know what years you went to Syracuse. Who was playing for Syracuse in basketball then?
Lawrence Moten, Billy Owens.
Oh gosh, yes.
Big.
Derek Coleman.
Yes.
Derek Coleman. You
Derek
had,
Coleman.
And I'm forgetting who their, you know, I think it was Stevie Thompson, and you guys had just I'm trying to remember. Yes. So I'm bringing them all up because my Pitt team years were pretty top notch at that time too. And so, so what year did you graduate from Syracuse?
93 maybe.
93. Okay. So I'm just kind of looking at, you know, I graduated from high school in 91, but I'm just remembering going to those Big East tournaments. And Boeheim, you guys had that. Every time the Big East tournament came, look out.
It was crazy.
But you lucked out also. The football was not bad either when you were there, right?
No. Athletes were they were treated like celebrities. They truly were. It was a trip.
So we're not going to talk about Syracuse then, especially. But again, I guess basketball. We'll wait to basketball to talk about. Oh, Pitt did beat them in. Can beat them in football already. We're not that you don't talk to football team, talk to basketball. But it's that matchup zone. Tay, that matchup zone kills everybody in the NCAA tournament. You laugh every year they're in the tournament, right? Because you know that matchup as long as Boeheim's around. Right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, Dr. Hall, next question.
Wow, just incredible. One of Hollywood's leading men. So incredible, Tay. But, you know, Tay, tell us this. I know that you've been a trailblazer in Hollywood, okay? And you've also, you're an author. And there's a book, I believe it's called Chocolate Me, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about that book and what you're trying to accomplish with that.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Chris. Chocolate Me is the first book in a series that me and my cousin Shane Evans, he illustrates the books, started a few years ago. There was an instance when I was growing up. I remember being maybe 5 years old, and I had a couple of white friends. We were playing, and one of my white friends looked at my hands and said, "How come the skin on the front of your hand is dark, but the skin on the other side is light. Are you, and these were kids, so they were being serious. They were asking this as a serious question. Are you dirty? Are you dirty on the outside? Does it wash off when you take a shower? And that didn't make me, that made me very uncomfortable, but I wasn't sophisticated enough to give my friend a proper answer. So I went inside and explained this to my mom, and she kept using the word chocolate to describe my skin. So I wrote a poem about that because it was a big moment for me, because that's when something switched, and I was very aware of being proud and having self-esteem, because chocolate is sweet, and there are a lot of positive things connected to chocolate. So later on in life, Shane, my cousin and now illustrator, he thought that poem would make a great children's story, so we did that. And from that point on, we've been doing other books as well, and it's been fun. It's something that I never thought I would do, but I am truly enjoying. Getting the opportunity to focus on anti-bullying and self-esteem and pride, and a lot of stuff that I think young people really could use. Young people and older people alike can use right now.
And the time you have to put into writing is a lot different than acting, right? You've noticed that for sure.
Sure. Yeah. It's, I'm all over the place. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's ADD, but I do everything a little bit different. So, sometimes I'll write while I'm at work, so that's been fun experiencing as well, figuring out my process.
See, that's the thing, that you come up with that creativity, you figure it out, and that's what makes your days go by. And so it's not boring. You always got to switch it up and try something different. And I think that's what the people that continue to be passionate about what they do in life is, they're not just doing the same thing over and over and over again. They're improving, they're looking at other ways to do it,
Yeah.
things like that. Okay. All right, Dr. Hall, next question for Tay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, Tay's certainly a wonderful actor and a heartthrob to all the women out here. But I wanted to bring that out because I knew he was an author, and that, those things are important, self-esteem and motivation. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Go, Dr. Hall.
Sure. No problem. So any, you said there's some other books in the series. Do they kind of focus on the same thing, or is it?
Yes, they do. First one's called Chocolate Me, which is about a little chocolate boy. I have a son who is biracial, so once he came into my life, I thought that could be something a book could speak to. So the second book is called Mixed Me, about a little mixed kid who has multiracial parents, and is kind of made fun of at school because certain people think he should be called this. Certain people don't know why his hair is, so once again, it's a kind of a trip through his journey of realizing that he can be proud of both sides of his family, and that he is special regardless of what others may think. The differences actually make him special and more interesting.
Interesting. Now, let's talk about Varsity Tutors. Explain to me Varsity Tutors, because one of my backgrounds was interesting when they came to me to promote. It's probably 10 years ago when I started, it was just education. I had my own tutoring business. Now I do some tutoring still on the side and different things, but Varsity Tutors is much different than the regular places that you go for online tutoring. Isn't that correct? What the kind of experiences they give you?
Yeah,
I saw a commercial on CNN. I saw a commercial on CNN last night about one of the interesting celebrities that are a part of this.
Yeah, I think it's really smart and innovative. Very current. I love that they're using fairly known artists and kind of taking advantage of what we have to offer. My mother was a teacher. There were a few teachers in my life that I will never forget, and will say for a fact changed to, who I am as a person. So teaching, in that respect is something that I've always loved. I didn't know how much I loved it until I started doing it after graduating. So, when this opportunity, came, it was something I definitely wanted to get into. I've noticed that whenever I teach, and this may sound cliche, but I'm very surprised at how much I learn just about myself and how much I learn, how much I realize I still need to learn.
Yes.
So it's always great to kind of open yourself up to that. And obviously, because of what we're going through, what better time to take an online class?
Yeah. So tell us about that online class you're teaching.
Yeah. So it's acting. I'm going to teach two. One is October 15th. That's the first one. And what's awesome about Varsity Tutors is that they're allowing me to kind of put my own swing on things. With a lot of acting teachers, I've heard there's a very specific style, and regardless of what the teacher thinks, they want to relay that style and drill that style into the actor's head. But Varsity Teachers is kind of letting me bring what I want to bring. So, for the people that are hopefully watching, not only do they get some insight into, what is special about acting to me and how I do it, but you also get to there's more of a back and forth with personality, and I think it's far more interesting.
And then bringing that component to allow it to be free online, such a great thing, especially during the pandemic, to do this, and then the
Sure.
connectivity of different things. So kind of, explain how when you teach someone to act, what do you see the components, especially in your class, the kind of people that you want to take your class? What are you looking for?
Well, it's open to anyone. We would love for the young people to join us. I know when I started very, very late. Well, for me, when I went to my performing arts high school, the cats that I was rolling with, they had started when they were 4 and 5, and
Wow.
the plays that as a parent now, I see all the other mothers and fathers trying to enroll their kids extra early. So I started late, but while I was beginning, it would have been really useful for me to have had something like this to kind of fill in. There's a lot that they don't teach you,
Right.
in college, and after someone has had a certain level of experience, those are the things that I really could have learned from, moving straight to New York after school. So we'll touch on that. We'll touch on just the how important the imagination, can be, and how to utilize and intertwine that with this craft, and confidence. Simple things of how confident you are, and how that can relay, how that can translate to your work.
That's very interesting. And Dr. Hall, anything to add with his acting class? What would you like to learn if you were in his acting class, Dr. Hall? I already know certain things. I'm a former pro wrestler, Tay, so I would love to have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did the minor leagues of pro wrestling, wrestled with The Rock before he was The Rock, and I really now have developed a better on-screen persona than I was when I was a wrestler. It's just big, dumb goof. But then after I started to become my character, I would hit it off pretty good in wrestling now. I might be behind the scenes more and make another comeback, but not in the ring till COVID's over. But I love the whole back and forth and really being a character.
Yeah.
And I think lots of wrestlers need to take your class, to be honest with you, because they really don't have the character development that they did back in the time when I was around. But all right, Dr. Hall, what would you want to learn in acting if you were acting, Dr. Hall?
Well, one of my first aspirations in life, growing up in Los Angeles, California, was to be an actor. But really, sincerity. Actors have to come across as being very sincere in some of the roles. They have to actually be those people. And
Mm.
so as I talk to patients every day, and as all medical students and doctors talk to patients, you know, we have to be very sincere in what we say. And so, yeah, that'd be a component that I'd be very interested in learning
Mm.
is today's acting class.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, and everybody has, you know, the older I'm getting, and you know, the luckier I am with continuing to work. Um, everybody has their own style, and when I was younger, you know, right out of college, you've got a big ego and you think you know everything, and it's like my way or the highway. They're a good actor and they're a bad actor because they do this, but now I'm realizing it's like whatever works for you works, and to not judge it and to kind of keep moving forward. And it's helped my teaching because it makes it a lot easier to tell people to be open to things, as opposed to, you know, it always kind of annoys me when people start a sentence with "the only way you can" or "you'll never." That's just not how I operate. You know what I mean? So it'll be fun kind of sharing that with the students as well.
Right. And you look at specifically how you're able to, the persona is such an important thing in acting, right? How you portray yourself as a character before you're the character of the actor before they play the role, right? Do you agree with that's important?
Sometimes it depends. I mean, it depends on the actor. Some people don't think. Some people immediately don't think of it as a character. They think of themselves. So they'll play the character as themselves, because sometimes they think if they think of it as a character, it'll distance them. And if
I
they
agree
want,
in that some
yeah,
ways. When I became more myself in wrestling, and where I was being more of you know, just learning the mic work, but just playing as an educated person, not just this big dumb goof. It worked way better, but it was not what certain people wanted the character to play. So you're right. Some people that they just totally know how to be a drama queen, or they know how to be a badass, while
hmm,
others have to play it and learn that character. And then,
right,
what would you say would be the
and
most challenging
study it.
character you've
Exactly,
ever played? Because at
exactly.
Heartthrob,
There's
that's
fun
not
in
hard.
both.
Yeah. What would you say was the hardest character you ever had to play?
Oh, the hardest and most satisfying and rewarding would be on stage, Hedwig and the Angry Inch. That's their trans character that um, his operation goes wrong, and he's traveling from Germany to America trying to be this rock star. And it was you know, singing, dancing, crying, high heels, lipstick, wig. It was ridiculous, but it was something that I'm very, very proud of, and you know, I'll never forget.
Fantastic. See,
Hmm.
and always thinking about that challenge, those challenges, getting out of your comfort zones, the way to grow and develop. So now, who knows when you're
100%.
next, you know, you'll have other aspirations of winning other awards and stuff. The more you go out of side of your normal character, you never know when that next job's going to come. That's going to end up, you know, getting the next level for you as an actor, where you would say.
Hmm.
So the more you can
Hmm.
play outside that character and be able to be different, the more
Yeah.
opportunity that something could be written in for you that's the perfect gig. You'll never know as an actor when
You
that'll
know,
happen. It just,
yeah.
it could be, someone could be writing a script right now that's perfect for you, Tim. You
Yeah.
just know.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Chris is right now, aren't you, Chris?
Well, Chris, no, Chris
Yes,
Hall's
sir. Thank
story,
you.
and you'll play him, and then an Academy Award. There we go. That's what we should do. Someone needs to make a film about Dr.
That'd
Hall's
be
life,
awesome.
and Tay needs to play it, and then there you go. You got an unbelievable story, and he could show all the tough times he went through to becoming a doctor. I think it's a perfect gig. So we'll have to get that set up.
That is not
We
a bad
need to get
idea.
Tay a book. We'll send him a book.
Say what? Say what?
Would you say?
We need to get you a book of Ward of the Court. It's on Amazon, but I'll send
I'll
you
make
one.
sure I get
Please
that to the
do.
team. I will do that for sure.
Please do. I would love that. Please do.
All right, Chris, go ahead and
Incredible.
summarize Tay for me, please.
Wow. But really, you know, words really cannot adequately express, you know, how we've been graced with the presence of this man who is playing on All-America, but who clearly is an All-America. He's all around, okay? He's given us some great principles for our young people, self-esteem, basically work hard, believe in yourself. And so it's just been an honor to have you on the show today, Mr. Taye Diggs. And thank you very much.
Thank you guys. This was great.
All
You
right.
guys take care of yourselves.
So Varsity Tutors, to find information,
Yes,
go to
yes.
varsitytutors.com, right? Is that correct?
Yes, yes, yes. You are correct. Thank you. www. Absolutely.
And then anything else where we can connect with you, where's best place for your stuff? Where can we go?
Oh, Lord, I'm awful at this. Instagram, Taye Diggs Insta. And I don't even know my
Google
Facebook.
you. You'll find some other things. Hey, that's it. But as an author, you got to start thinking about that in that way. But best of luck with all the different projects everyone needs to take his acting course. Thank you again, Varsity Tutors, for this opportunity. And thanks again for everybody coming by. Take care. All right, that was the Dr. Christopher Hall Show, guys. Take care. We're back to the Neil Haley Show here on the Total Celebrity segment, and I'm excited to welcome the program John Hensley, Brat Black Emperor of Broadway, How to Get Away with Murder, all those different things. John, thanks for stopping by. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, Neil. It's nice to be here for sure.
Absolutely. I want to talk about, we'll just kind of jump into this character, and then we'll get into a little bit of How to Get Away with Murder. But
Sure.
Let's go right into the character. I mean, to think about the story finally being told. I mean, I think historically to know that there was this kind of racial discrimination at this time on Broadway, it's just not highlighted, is it, John?
No, for sure. I mean, in this particular story, interesting. I mean, for me, I was actually kind of unaware of it, which is, you know, in and of itself, I think a bit of a tragedy that Gilpin's story isn't, you know, better known. And you know, I'm an O'Neill fan. So for me to not really be familiar with this particular chapter in both of those people's lives, that in and of itself, I think, kind of speaks to the fact that this story hasn't, you know, been appropriately told yet.
Yeah, it hasn't been. And when I got to learn a little bit so far about it, but your character is very well known. And I know that you like both the stage and acting on the screen. So you're into both genres. So you're a fan of this guy before, meaning not the truth of him, but meaning knowing how his success as an actor, right? Not the person he was.
Oh, are you talking about Gilpin?
No, I'm talking about O'Neill and stuff.
O'Neill.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, O'Neill. Are you kidding me? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, O'Neill. So, you know, not to sound, I don't even know how this sounds. It's just the truth. I mean, for years, I slept with a copy of Long Day's Journey into Night on my bedside table. I mean, that was almost like to me, more than, you know, just someone's work. To me, there was almost something meditative about diving into that, you know, periodically. So yeah, I was very familiar with O'Neill, so much so that, quite frankly, I was very surprised, quite frankly, that Arthur, the director of this film, even knew who I was, and secondly, even more so, that he wanted me to play Eugene O'Neill.
Yeah,
it was kind of like a sight unseen yes. I was just like, what? Yeah, 100%. We'll figure out what this thing actually is and what it's about later, but I'm in. So for me, I'm a big enough fan that just getting the ask to get to, you know, sort of you know, play that character, you know, that was a really lovely surprise.
and so I mean, like, I just could just tell this passion in you talking about this. So the preparation, but I think you were disappointed also, people have to see the film, about what kind of person he was, right? After looking at it.
I mean, you know, I don't know, man. I mean, I think, you know, as far as well, truth be told, I haven't seen the film yet, so I don't know how Eugene O'Neill is ultimately portrayed. I can only give, you know, my sort of layman perspective on him, which is that, you know, man, look, I am in no shortage of flaws as a human being myself. So I I don't know. I think it's really easy to sort of judge people through, a very uh, it's very easy to look at the lives of other people from sort of a 30,000-foot perspective when, I think if we all aimed the mirror at ourselves, we would find more than one instance where, we could certainly improve and have been a better human being. So I sort of look at it with regard to O'Neill, and I don't know if this is kind of what you're getting at, but like I think he was um and people who quite frankly know more about him than I do might disagree or might validate this. I think he was, probably a pretty unforgiving person with regard to himself and with regard to the people that he shared his life with, whether professionally or personally, and he certainly had his bag of demons, like the
Yes.
rest of us.
Everyone, all of us have it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, that's not to excuse, sort of his harshness, but I think sort of from that actually came some work that, like I said, has clearly stood the test of time, which, it's always that question, right? Of what do you forgive in the legacy that someone leaves behind? Does the work justify certain
the way he
discretions?
treated certain people and did certain
Yeah,
things without giving them away, and sort of,
yeah, exactly. And again, and by the way, Neil, feel free to just interrupt me at any point if you're like, yeah. Your audience will discover I have no problem talking. I
can tell that.
Yeah, I'm a Southern boy and I've got the gift of gab. But what? At least in shooting the film, and again, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I don't know. How O'Neill is portrayed in the movie, but in terms of shooting, I really regarded it as that he stood by what he believed to be right, which was that he refused not to cast an African American actor in a role that was written for an African American actor, but in that also he was not going to allow Gilpin any more leeway.
Right. That's where the kind of thing that could not happen today. We're not giving it away. That's where I'm looking at the O'Neill and the fact, well, he did cast an African American, but then he asked him to do things that Gilpin felt was not right and blackballed him. So we've all done that in this business where we I'm a former pro wrestler, and I was not blackballed, but certain promoters would never book me again based on being a jackass and say, screw this.
Sure.
I'm doing this in this match, and who cares? We don't think about those things when we're young. But ultimately, and then promoters, the same thing. I didn't like that guy's attitude, or that director didn't like that guy. I'm not going to cast him again. So you can't go and look at his demons and stuff. But I think that for people looking back at that time period, John, he looks like a pretty big racist in that way.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. I mean, the way. I mean, yes, perhaps, but I mean, again, the way I sort of justified it, that's the wrong, because the way I looked at it, I guess I should say, is that O'Neill, and I could be wrong about this. I didn't know the man, so I want to be very careful in defending somebody that I didn't know.
Yes.
But my suspicion is that if what a lot of us generally know about him is true, he probably would have been just as unforgiving, just as brutal to anyone, regardless of race, regardless of gender. I think O'Neill served, and probably, I shouldn't even say probably, it feels so presumptuous to use words like probably, because again, I mean, we're talking about somebody who's been dead for God knows how long, but I think that the way I looked at it, I'll just say that, and maybe wrongly, is that he was a guy that served the peace
Yes.
sort of above all else, and
it's all about the
regardless
theater.
of cost.
It's all about him making this the
Exactly.
best show possible, and who I hurt, I don't care. And so it's interesting you take that, because I based on the other interviews, I've
Yes,
not watched the
yes.
film either. I want to, because I have an undergrad in history, so I'm very intrigued by this. I was looking at you as a villain, and so in a way, it's someone's thought process. It was that time period. I mean, people were painting their faces
Yeah.
and playing black people, meaning they were painting their faces.
Exactly.
They weren't allowing an African American to be on stage. They wanted anyone that, so there's a lot of different things involved in that. Now,
No, totally. I mean, and that's the thing, honestly, Neil, like O'Neill, and again, you know, having not seen the film that I'm in yet, you know, on the day when we were shooting a lot of these scenes, it was very much from the point of view, like O'Neill fought for Gilpin. Like he was the only one that wanted to cast an African American in the role. All the other people in his theater troupe wanted blackface. They insisted on it. And
see, I didn't hear that. So that's
he went fully against the grain of not only the times as a whole. I mean, this was a time where, you know, it was, I mean, you know, like they literally had African Americans doing blackface. Like you couldn't even be an African American portraying an African American, you know, and so it was a really intense time.
Right.
And O'Neill dug his heels in and said, absolutely not. This was written for a black man. It will be portrayed not only like this guy is also, by the way, happens to be a brilliant actor. And it was really the success of the production that sort of tore these two guys apart, and it was and where O'Neill kind of, you know, at least with regard to the story, may have misstepped, is that he was unable to allow for Gilpin to inject his own unique perspective on the story. It was like, hey, I get it. You're good at what you do, but I wrote it. So it's not your character, it's my character. And Gilpin's position generally was, you know, I get it. You wrote it, but you don't really know the world that you're playing in here. And you're speaking from a perspective that actually I know, because like you know, it's like you're a white guy, you know, and so
Gilpin really was groundbreaking in so many ways, standing up to O'Neill.
Totally.
Yeah. So
100%.
how did you prepare for O'Neill, the character, especially when you have such a fan, your fan favorite of his based on his
So I, you know, well, first of all, and failed at it. I tried to find, you know, sort of audio of O'Neill, and I personally was unable to do it, but that's not saying much. I'm you know, not the world's best internet sleuth, as it were, but Arthur kind of put me at ease on that, and he's like, God, you sound just like him, which quite frankly could have been a lie. I don't know how Arthur knows what O'Neill said, but you know, whatever. I was like, oh, great. But you know, frankly, how I prepared for it, I'm a big believer in, like, you do your homework and then you throw it away, and then trust that whatever happens on the day is what's meant to happen. But if I go in there like a steamroller, thinking that I know exactly how this thing is supposed to play out, I don't live my life that way. Therefore, if we are, you know, in essence, hopefully giving some relative accurate representation of how human beings interact with each other, I don't think it's appropriate that I enter a scene that way. So hopefully by the time I've shown up to set, whatever work I've done has literally been thrown in the dumpster and the residual is just there. So generally speaking, that's how I kind of approach things. And with regard to O'Neill specifically, and again, I don't want to presume anything about a man that, you know, I never knew, but, you know, again, kind of going back to Long Day's Journey into Night, I think one reason why that sat on my bedside table, you know, through, you know, multiple houses and multiple chapters in my life, is because I felt like I I felt like this guy was reading my mail, and like
Yes.
I could read his mail. And so therefore there was something to the inherent despair in a lot of O'Neill's writing, and the sort of unapologetic
Right.
humanity that you know, I don't mean this to sound in some way, it just wasn't a big leap for me to imagine maybe the demons that O'Neill faced on a daily basis, sort of, you know,
These are demons that
crippling.
you face, John, as
Yeah,
an actor.
totally. Yeah.
I mean, with the
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to tell me the egos and the different people you deal with on different shows
Yeah.
you've been on, and different families and directors and
Oh,
dealing with people. It's the same
sure.
thing. And I'm sure you've been behind the screen, not just in front of the screen. You've directed, you've produced, maybe. I
Mhm,
don't know. I'm just
mhm.
assuming that. And you had to take that role as a leader and make sure that you bring the right people in, and how much more pressure's on you than just yourself, relying on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, look, 100%. I mean, I think that any any production, and just with regard to O'Neill, I mean, I think, you know, any one of us, again, I don't think it's a unique thing to sort of be crippled with insecurity and doubt and self-hate and, you know, any number of things, depression. You know, I think we all go through any number of those things in our lives. I certainly have, and you know, I've wondered more than once, like, Jesus Christ, what's the point, you know, and of like literally waking up, and in O'Neill's writing, you know, that's a sort of constant, that's like a thread that
Yes.
runs, you know, sort of constant through a lot of his characters. So it was very easy for me to connect with that. And then with regard to productions, you know, my thing is this, like with regard to any production, whether, you know, it's working as an actor, whether it's directing, whether it's writing, um, and it, you know, it's nothing revolutionary, but I look at a production, really any business for that matter, it's like a spoked wheel,
Yes.
and just like a spoked wheel, if one spoke is out of skew, the wheel doesn't run
And then
true.
especially on the stage, that's how it is.
100%. And so my primary concern as an actor is to make sure I'm not the crooked spoke. You know what I mean? That I'm not the one like causing the wheel to go off the rails. And then as a director, you know, it might be an overly simplistic thing, but I think a lot of directing, man, is just communication. Is like is really being there for, in a way, on the day, allowing yourself to be a bit of the hub, but not hub in terms of like I control this wheel, but hub in terms of like I'm here for every spoke, and hopefully I can be of service to the wheel as a whole. And so that's you know, that's sort of how I just regard productions. And believe me, to your point about egos, my God, man, I mean, you know, I mean, look, it just is what it is. I
It
mean,
is.
I could literally talk to you until your head falls off
I
about,
know you could on that.
yeah, about my feelings on that. I mean, I think a lot of that, it's funny enough, in a weird way, it might connect to the O'Neill of it all. Um, you know, man, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Neil. I would never presume to know the pro wrestling world at all, but I gotta believe that this plays into it. Is that, you know, like, you work really hard, and some people not, some people do, but whatever, you do what you do, you get the opportunities you get,
Yes.
and when you're a performer, those opportunities are only given to you by a something like somebody or something that holds more power, right?
Exactly.
And
That's
so then
wrestling
when you're
completely.
when
Yes.
dude, totally. And then when you're on set, or maybe backstage, or actually in the ring, uh, you know, I think a lot of people, instead of being grateful for the fact that they've been given the opportunity, and thereby, you know, taking the opportunity to sort of plant a row of good seed, rather see a crack in a door where they suddenly have access to a perceived power that they didn't have, you know, even a month ago. And it can kind of turn them into a monster. And when I see people behave that way, I try to remember that at the core of that person is someone who is really scared and really terrified
Right.
that they may never be given the chance to work again after
Right.
this job.
Right.
And that it's actually probably unconscious how
Exactly.
horrible they're being. Now, maybe that's giving them too much
No,
benefit
not
of
at
a
all.
doubt,
No,
but that's
no,
what
no,
I
no.
choose to believe.
Thinking about this Black Emperor of Broadway, it's available now. I want to ask a quick question about How to Get Away with Murder, and then jump
Yeah.
into specifically any other projects you have. But I wanted to bring
Sure.
up Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Quick story. The Rock, I love The Rock that he is today. The Rock, when I first met him before he was nothing, was that. When I met him in WWE, when I went to do a TV taping to get I was jobbing. I'm 6'10", but they were taking a look at me to maybe sign me. He didn't pay attention. He knew me. Everyone else that was around me, that were, pretty big stars that are now in WWE that were down south when I was there, all said hello to me. So I wonder who The Rock is. The Rock. But that's an ego, and it could be the day. It could be why it happens. John could have blown people off on set. We don't know that. But okay, now let's go to How to Get Away with Murder. Now, how did you like?
Man. I will say that. I hope I'm not. I don't want to speak too boldly, but I'd be real curious if anybody were able to say that about me.
Okay.
But
so John, How to Get Away with Murder.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to ask on that is, how did it playing a love interest in that way, in the way that a lot of the guys that were on the show, because I watched all the seasons, they were pretty heartthrobs in certain ways in relationships, and then you get put in this relationship with this attorney that she had relationships with other guys, that were maybe a little bit more attractive than you, John. How did you play that character? I'm just thinking that in a way, because I could see you laughing on set playing that in a way, that love interest type of thing.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Well, love. I was talking about specifically enough the love interest. How a lot of people that dated your fiance were a different attraction than you. How did you play that role in a lot of ways when a lot of the guys were very, in shape in certain aspects, were kind of, just a different look for How to Get Away with Murder than your role?
Oh, dude, make no mistake. You could wash clothes on my stomach, buddy. So let's not get it twisted.
Okay, John, there we go. John's ready to set up.
Let's not get it twisted, Neil. Come on. Let's not get it twisted. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Even though you could, I'm kidding. No, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you how the whole How to Get Away with Murder thing kind of came about. And this, I think this will actually answer your question, because it was sort of a bit of a surprise the way things evolved with Ronald and Bonnie, and that I initially came onto that show just literally to do a 1-episode guest spot. It was I was just like, I don't even know. I could be wrong. I don't want to misspeak, but I don't even know if he he was just the DA. Like, he was DA Ronald Miller, and it was a couple of court scenes, I think, and
you weren't the DA yet.
I wasn't the DA yet, and I don't want to misspeak. Pete Nowalk would certainly be better equipped to answer this, but I was initially literally hired to do a guest spot on one episode, and I'm assuming, I don't know, something in the edit, and thought that there was something there, and it sort of evolved naturally. So all to say that it wasn't like, now once they signed me to sort of multiple episodes, there was a little bit of discussion about, hey, this is sort of where the arc is going and what's going to happen with Ronald and Bonnie. But I didn't really overthink it, man. I didn't really think about it. And I'm sure you can relate to this too, Neil. It's like, dude, like, when you've been doing this stuff, it's I'll tell you something, that the very first theater professor I had, Paul Rathbun, out of Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado. I got to give him credit, because I haven't seen the man since he said these words to me right before I left Durango, Colorado, and headed to New York City. But he said to me, he said, you know something, man, I think you can actually do this. He said, and it's funny, you're talking about physicality. He said, because you're not the world's biggest guy. And he's like, and they like small people. And he said, you got a decent enough look. And he's like, and you're all right. You're all right. You're like, you're not that bad. And he said, but I just have one piece of advice before you leave for New York. He said, don't ever, no matter what, don't ever take it personally. And dude, that's been carved on my soul since that day, and it's enabled me, perhaps in a delusional way, to sort of get through the overwhelming amounts of rejection that I've experienced, that any actor's experienced. I mean, I know other people have been far more fortunate than I am, but I can tell you I've experienced, for every yes, for every you're hired I've gotten, I have for sure gotten 1,000 no thank yous. And that's no exaggeration, by the way. And all to say that I've been around long enough that when I'm on a set, man, I don't concern myself with the dynamics at play with characters.
Yeah.
I'm there to do what I can.
You're
Kind of
there
going
to
back
do
to
your
that
job.
spoke thing.
Right.
Exactly. Like I'm
and not get offended by it and have thick skin and deal with it. Oh wow,
dude.
Okay.
I 100%. Yeah, sorry. I know that may
no,
not
that's
be
okay,
like
John.
the world's most
So let's go with
interesting
latest
answer.
projects.
Yeah.
Latest project. What?
Yeah.
Black Emperor of Broadway is available now. You can check it out. I know it's available in certain places. Just Google, find it. You'll find it different places on either VOD or also you can find it at Walmart. I think that I was hearing from a conversation
Right on.
before. Yeah. So that's what I heard in the last interview, but who knows?
Sweet.
So, what about you? Other projects? What's going on?
Oh gosh. So right. So I spend a significant amount of my time these days writing. I mean, I'm always like, I love acting. I'll always act, but I'm actually working on a project right now that I'm not trying to be coy. It's just the way it is. I'm not at liberty to like really discuss it, but it's lovely. I mean, it's a television project that I've written and we'll see. It's fortunately there's a group of folks who have decided that they want to make it, and so right now I'm in the process of not only developing that with them, but sort of doing some rewriting and all of that. All nascent stages and all things that your viewers and listeners.
There's a lot of stuff that you can't say yet, John.
Yeah, and that's the reason. And it's not for any like.
Is there anything for published right now to say except Black Emperor of
oh God, no! Right now it's just Black Emperor, and man, like everybody else, I'm just like whatever. Like
waiting for COVID-19 to end,
bro. Just trying to
disappear.
Trying to get through this stuff and seeing if we're all going to be standing at the end of it, and who the hell's got the cough, who doesn't.
So this film is perfect for people to check you out. Playing O'Neill, that's phenomenal. It was a great conversation, and I could talk to you for hours, John, but we have to say adieu. We're going to have definitely another time when your project comes out. We'll stay in touch, and I really enjoyed the conversation. But again, where can we follow you? On Twitter, Instagram, places? John, where do you go?
I'm sorry, man. I don't do the social media thing. Probably.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of. I was Googling when's the last time you did an interview. It's been a while for TV. So yeah, I even put that on YouTube. So I'm like, yes, now we'll have a John Hensley interview up on YouTube, on Facebook, everything. So that finally your fans will get to see you. So you must be a very private person.
I guess I just my thing is I guess, man. And again, I'm not trying to I just don't give it a lot of thought. Like I'm not too interested in. I don't, people, look, you found me, right? If anybody wants to talk to me, I'm a really easy guy to find. I'm not, so I might be private compared to how other people conduct themselves these days, but I'm an easy guy to find. And I'm happy to talk to anybody who's willing to take time out of their day to do so. But I don't really do the social media thing, only because quite frankly, I don't feel like I got a lot to say unless it's connected to a project. And if it's connected to a project that insists that I have a social media profile, well, then they can create one for me, and I'll be happy to toe the line.
So okay, I'm not going to say that's a good thing, John, but John does what John wants to do. And that's what John Hensley does. So I appreciate it. Google John Hensley, and then when you
Hey, man.
Google him, our interview will be up on YouTube and up on
For
different
sure.
things, and
For
you'll just
sure.
see John Hensley everywhere because of me. So I'll take
well,
it.
I really appreciate that, Neil. Thank you. That's very, very kind of you, man.
All right, man. Thanks. Take care. All right,
All right,
guys. That was
absolutely.
the
Take
Neil
care.
Haley Show. Take care.